What is body language? Why is understanding how to read body language so important? Now, this seems like a pretty nuanced concept to some, and you may be actually thinking how this applies to you. But this is an everyday aspect of life that we have in the back of our minds, and we analyze and apply it in our own lives. As Vanessa Van Edwards states, body language is the closest thing to mind reading and a skill that anybody can learn. Now, not only does she state this, but she discusses in her article more about how the nonverbal behaviors that someone exhibits can tell you a much more comprehensive story than their actual words. From this, we look to explore how learning about reading and understanding body language can significantly improve one's abilities to pick up on people's feelings and behaviors, as well as improving your own strength in giving verbal messages to people. Today, I'm going to discuss with you guys how to learn and read body language. And to help better understand this, we're going to discuss body language first and go over it. After that, we will discuss why body language is so important to learn how to read. And then finally, we're going to discuss how to apply reading body language in your everyday life. To dive into this first, we're going to talk about body language and how to understand it. The ability to communicate is something we all look to do well in our lives. But an aspect that some may not recognize is how our actual nonverbal body cues and body language can speak louder than our actual words. In a 2023 article written by Melinda Smith, Jan Siegel, Lawrence Robinson, and Greg Boos, they discuss how body language and the use of physical behavior and expressions, as well as mannerisms, to communicate nonverbally, and it's often done instinctively rather than consciously. You may not even be aware of it, but right now in this moment, when you're interacting with others, you're constantly giving off nonverbal cues. And whether that's your tone of voice, the posture you use, the hand gestures you make, or the eye contact you make with others, these gestures can subconsciously build the trust with people, or it can undermine the conversation you have with them. It can even confuse individuals further about what you're talking about. Even when you stop talking, the messages that you convey with your body are still being sent and can influence others. Now, that we know how to understand body language, what we're going to do is discuss the importance of body language and why understanding how to read it is important. The idea of how to say something is often more important than what we actually say, says Frank Giannotti. He writes in his article about body language why it is so important in processing and understanding communications between individuals. Body language overall is the impression that we give off to others. And without proper body language, you can find yourself unable to integrate with others and the external environment around you, and even experience difficulties in the workplace with the absence of body language. According to studies cited by Frank, nonverbal communication is 65 to 93% more influential than the actual words or text that you say to people. And what it shows is how important body language is in its expression and communication. Not only is paying attention to your body language important, but paying attention to others, according to Frank, is just as important, because what it does is it allows you to gain insight and understanding of people's opinions on you. Not only can it help you do this, but it can help you plan out your speech and your next moves accordingly. Not only is body language important for impressions, but ensuring practicing good body language and positive body language is important as well. Doing things like avoiding hunching over or leaning on things can subconsciously teach you how to not do those body language expressions. For example, when you're standing in an authoritative pose, what it will do is subconsciously create a thought in your head, and making you do that pose more often will help you promote good body language. Hopefully now you can understand the vast importance of body language, and we'll look at how to read body language within your everyday life. Whether you are in the workplace, out for a night on the town, learning how to read body language is extremely important. Knowing how to read those valuable cues on people is a great skill and can help us all read individuals. One of the most important body parts within body language that you can grab cues from is the head and the face. According to Fremont University, learning how to read the behaviors of the eyes as well as observing people's head movements is critically important in finding out whether or not someone is actually interested in the topics that are being discussed. Subsequently, Fremont University writes about how small things like smiling, a touching of the eyes or the face, and using a real smile versus a fake smile can help you out. The next portion of the body that Fremont University specifically talks about is the body itself and seeing how people mirror you or are standing when talking to you. Additionally, how someone positions their feet and holds their arms while engaging with you can tell you a huge part about how they're feeling. What we just discussed in mirroring, as Fremont University states, is a gesture of goodwill. And you can do this gesture for approximately 10 seconds to see if somebody mirrors what you're doing. If they do, this is considered a great sign. And what it shows is that they're trying to establish that rapport with you and understand what you're talking about. Another aspect of reading somebody's body language is always looking at their arms and their feet occasionally. Often people's arms will be the doorway to the conversation. Whether that's you see their arms crossed or open, it'll help you determine where they want to be within the conversation. Additionally, people's feet point toward where they want to go. So naturally, if they're pointing towards you, it makes you believe that they want to be a part of the conversation. Whereas subsequently, if they face or turn away from you, it can make you believe that they don't want to be a part of the conversation. All in all, we've discussed what body language is and how it's important to understand, and being able to read body language in your everyday life. What it can do is it can show you how important body language is. It constitutes for more communication than you think it does, and often it's not even at the forefront of your mind in a conversation or within life. But if you focus on being able to notice and read body cues, it can help you in every aspect of communication. I hope after listening to this, you kind of learn from this and take time to evaluate yourself when you're speaking to others and try to improve your ability to read body language. Working on this improves your overall impression with people, as well as giving you the ability to read crowds and others when giving a speech. I appreciate you all listening. Do you have any questions? Go ahead.
How can negative body language be advantageous to a conversation or a group discussion?
So in that aspect, it's not, right? You're trying to learn how to read people and make sure that what you're reciprocating to them is responded back to you. So I want to make sure you're sitting up. I want to make sure you're looking at me. I want to make sure you're engaging in our conversation, because if you're not, then what it does is it makes me believe that you aren't. And then that negatively affects me and how I'm going to talk to you, right? So negative body language is something to always look out for, and it's not a positive, it's always a negative. Go ahead.
How much do you pay attention to body language in like everyday life? And also, after doing all this research and stuff, moving forward, will this like change the way you like operate with body language or like view it?
So I personally have actually never thought about it, right? It's really weird, but like I said, it's one of those subconscious things that you never think of. So like me, it's nothing I ever thought of, and I didn't really notice the things that I now notice about people. So it's definitely something to incorporate further as I move on, not only in this class, but in life. You know, you want to make sure that when you're engaging with others, it's in a positive way, because learning to read those cues helps you read your environment and the people around you.
Do you now notice whenever you're doing the negative body language, are you actively making an effort not to do that anymore, or are you just like going with the flow now? Because you're more like.
So I am more aware of it. And the thing that I try to do, especially in engaging with like you guys here at work or with anybody, is if I want to be a part of the conversation, I want to make it readily known to you that I want to be a part of it. So I'm going to look at you, I'm going to pay attention to what you're saying, I'm going to give you a head nod, I'm going to, give you those small, subtle cues to make you know, like, hey, I'm listening to you. And additionally, what that does is, if I'm not interested, right, I now know to not only give you those cues of maybe crossing my arms or looking away or turning away, but to also express like, hey man, like, not right now, we'll discuss this another time. Just because I now know that you might not know that I'm not interested in listening to you, if that makes sense. So it's one of those things where it's now I'm more conscious about it, and I want to make sure that not only am I giving you positive feedback, but if I'm giving you negative feedback, I kind of let you know, because you might not actually understand that I'm giving you that negative feedback, if that makes sense. Do I have any other questions from you guys? Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys listening.